It's dark, it's storming, it's beautiful ASMR that I don't know y'all will be able to hear in the background with the rain hitting against the window, but I want to make a video about my Linux Ubuntu setup. I know you can hear that. So what I'm currently running is Ubuntu 24.04. It's the latest LTS that they have. I'm running this on a Minis Forum mini PC. I have another PC over here, which is my Windows PC. You can actually see it kind of, in the background right there. And I have another PC that is sitting in my mudroom. Things have gotten a little out of hand, and I am going to heavily consolidate everything that I have into, I think, just one rig and even one monitor, whereas I have 3 on my desk and 2 over there. I have like 5 keyboards, and I think I would rather have a different one than the ones I have now. But you got to play around with things to see kind of what you want. And I've just been getting too distracted with the multiple monitors. So anyway, and that's what I've been doing with Ubuntu. Because as you may know, I was just on NixOS on this PC, but it was a little bit too much for me. Even I myself called it a skill issue. So we'll roll with that, but I just don't like having to fight my operating system. I just need something that works every single time and is very simple to update everything and is very straightforward, and I don't have the time to learn any of those extra skills at the moment. But Ubuntu is my old and faithful professional development environment. I used to run it in a VM doing professional software engineering work, and now I run it in WSL doing software engineering work, and also now doing it on its own PC in an operating system that doesn't look like Ubuntu. And the reason for that is because we are actually running Omakub. So Omakub is a dev setup configuration, if you will, that DHH made, the guy who made Ruby on Rails and things of that nature. You know what? I'm going to pull that down because that is just beautiful rain right there. And I will say Omakub is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here for me, from having all of these different workspaces that I can go to via commands with super 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I can set up those workspaces. Typically I'll have like my dev environment in one. Allow me to clarify. I actually typically, workspace 1 will be just kind of whatever I hop into first, and then I'll kind of just build out the workspaces from there. I don't have like, oh, 2 is always this and 1 is always that and 3 is always that. Maybe I should, but I haven't figured out exactly the order that I want it in. But I've been doing a lot of degeneracy lately and running a lot of AI agents. And I don't just mean coding with AI agents, because I think that's a good way to approach a lot of software development today, is utilizing it to how you use it. And this is Zed. I have Zed open in Workspace 2 with, of course, their agentic coding editing in there. But in 3, I'll have Warp open in a different project than what Zed is. This one's the same project because I just opened it up for an example. But I will run Warp because it's not just an AI terminal anymore. They also have agentic development environment is what they call it. So you can run commands with Claude 4 in order to code, ask, or build anything. And then I will have VS Code with augment code whenever I'm working on larger code bases, or if I'm just working on a third project, or if I'm just testing things out, because right now I'm in a phase of testing a lot of different tools out, a lot of AI models, a lot of IDEs and extensions and plugins and things of that nature. So that's a lot of kind of what I've been doing with all the different workspaces. I do really like workspaces. I really do. It just makes life a whole lot easier. But this right here is also an Omakub thing where you can kind of see the obvious difference in what you see here versus like typical Ubuntu with the sidebar and things of that nature, and a different different launcher. This is ULauncher, but this right here is the tiling window manager. So if I wanted to throw this Omakub right here, it's kind of hard to tell actually. If I were to take this and I were to Super W, that's the new Alt F4 with this Super W, because it's a lot easier to click than Alt F4. If I were to take this right here and then Super T, and then I can just click whatever 2 keys that I want. So if I want it in QWAS, I just do from corner to corner, QS, and it's over here. Or if I wanted it, if I wanted it over in ED, then I'll just throw it over in ED. And I was looking over here because the monitor's a little bit behind this monitor over here. I don't know if you can see that right here, but there's this third monitor. Again, I need to go back to a solo monitor, but I was looking because sometimes, for example, if I were to pull up Chrome, it doesn't always work. So ED, as you can see, it goes, you can't see anything. As you can see, it goes off the screen, and I don't know why that is, other than, you know, the potential fact that maybe this can only get so skinny. Yeah, it can only get so skinny, and I am at 200% display on this because I use this in recordings and things of that nature. I would probably run it, I'll definitely run it at 100%, but as you can see, that's really small for recording, so I have to, well, inconvenience myself in order to allow y'all to see the actual code on screen and not having to edit and zoom in and things of that nature. You can also see that this is a 2560 by 1600 monitor, which is also what this one is back here. I just have it vertically. Again, I'm going to do away with this here soon, or at least when I move to my new office. And while I do like the overall form factor of the 16 by 10, you see how it doesn't exactly fit the entire window here, and it's not absolutely conducive to what we have going on here, because if we had a little bit more screen real estate width, well, it would allow QA and ED to actually be useful, which is also why when I went to Micro Center Santa Clara last month, I was looking at their ultra wide monitors because I think that may be the move, which also means I would have to buy a 6th monitor and figure out what to do with all of these other ones. It's also where I'm going to go for that keyboard. And as you know, Micro Center has been a longtime partner of the channel, and they are also a sponsor of this portion of today's video. And they're having a lot of exclusive deals throughout the month of July. So if you don't want to miss out, I'm going to leave links about their exclusive savings and top deals and a couple more links in the description below. So whether you want, you know, a LaserJet printer like I do, or another monitor, or another keyboard, or PC components, or a 3D printer, or a racing simulator. Sorry, I'm still stuck on the racing simulator, but as you may know, Micro Center has all of it, and they always have really good deals. So if you have one close to you, definitely go in store. If not, click those links below. Now back to talking about that squished 16.10 monitor. It isn't conducive to this setup, which I can change, which I actually have changed from the normal Omakub. I don't want this entire video to be about Omakub because DHH has made a video about it himself, as well as about Omarchi, which is Omakub, but for Omakub is to Ubuntu, Omarchi is to Arch Linux with Hyperland. I felt that there was a lot of wasted screen real estate when it came to the right here, the original version of this. As you can see, I took away a lot of that wasted space that you see here, because while I love the look of the borders and having a nice border, not too much. So I just changed that to make it work for me. And a lot of the keybinds that are included, as you can read throughout the Omakub manual, which is over here. And it is also incorrect at the moment. It looks like Omarchi's manual has been added to the front page unintentionally. It should be the Omakub front page, but I tried to tweet at DHH letting them know, but I'm sure it all got drowned out. But you can see the manual and everything, navigation, tiling, themes, fonts. Ooh, I do want to talk about that real quick. So Alt 8 actually pulls this up. I'm going to make that big. I accidentally hit something. So theme, you can change the theme. Right now, I think I'm on no, I'm not. I'm on Grovebox. Yeah, or I can change it over to Everforce and it changes all of that. The only issue with this that I need to go through and change is that every time I do it, it changes my VS Code theme. But I don't want it to change my VS Code theme, so I have to come through here and set color theme back to Andromeda every single time because I like Andromeda. And Chrome is my browser of choice. I have used Firefox and Brave in the past, but Chrome just does everything that I need it to do. I do have Chromium on here as well. I always have Chromium on my Ubuntu for whatever reason. I even said it in my original Linux Ubuntu VM setup video. I think Firefox comes pre-installed on this, and then I make sure that I have Google Chrome installed, and then I just installed Chromium web browser as well because I'm weird like that and I use a bunch of different browsers at once. Yeah, and that logic plays out basically a lot right now because of how many different tools and things that I'm using simultaneously that are redundant. But I do have half a mind to test out Dia, formerly Arc. They're two different products, but Dia now has the focus of the browser company, whereas Arc no longer does. It's not sunsetted or deprecated, but it isn't really being maintained as far as I understand. I have heard of Zen. I've just never tried out any of those three because I'm stuck in Chrome for the time being. So now really diving into this, you saw a snapshot of it before, but I use VS Code and other tools, but let's focus on VS Code right now. And within VS Code, I have a handful of different extensions installed, not really too many at the moment. I've done a complete wipe of everything just to see what I miss and what I don't. Like I said, I'm kind of in the midst of changing everything, but there is one thing that I do currently have, and that is Augment, which is a more expensive AI coding assistant, but it's really good for larger code bases, and it indexes your entire code base via RAG. Over here, I will do TypeScript stuff, whether it's front-end TypeScript, full stack TypeScript. I will do everything TypeScript within this, as well as I'll pull up some sort of, like, if I want to do some sort of testing in terms of just using an example file for Java for a video, or if I want to do Rust, and I don't even think I have Rust Analyzer installed here. No, see, I don't even have the Rust Analyzer installed here anymore. Again, full purge. But even with Rust, I'll do it in here, which may sound odd because I am a big fan of JetBrains IDEs. I used to code Java in Eclipse. Now I do it in IntelliJ IDEA. And ever since I made that switch, which one of my coworkers for the longest time was just all about IntelliJ. He's like, it's worth the money, and not only is it worth the money, you don't even have to pay for it because the company pays for it. But it's funny because I have all of these different IDEs and things, but I'm very averse to change. I like things the way they are, or I will batch everything out. So when I say batch everything out, right now, I've been trying out different operating systems, different tools, different monitor setups, different keyboards, different extensions and plugins, everything right now. So when I get into my new office, I will have the perfect setup. I just have to go through the trouble and the struggle that is trying out everything at this moment. But again, I'm very averse to change. I like testing things out, but I typically will revert back to my natural ways, which is why I still have this Windows PC, because my natural ways at the moment is quite literally just WSL, opening up VS Code, have it running, as you can see, in WSL Ubuntu. And if you don't know anything about WSL, because you are probably a Linux fan since you're watching this video, would you look at that, // So this entire deal is within WSL. Anyway, back over here, yeah, use IntelliJ. I used to have a lot of format settings in IntelliJ as well as in Eclipse because I had to stay with a consistent code style, but based on what project I'm working for and with whom, I have to change these all of the time. So I don't know if this is just what's default at the moment, but you can change everything within probably any of your IDEs or code editors, whether it's JavaDoc, blank lines, spaces, tabs, and indents, exactly how you want it, or more importantly, how your team wants it, because your code base needs to be consistent. So if you can code actively with that consistency, or every single time you press save, it throws in all of these code styles, then you're good to go. Also, JetBrains IDEs have Augment. So they have Augment code, like in my VS Code, which again is good with large code bases. Java code bases are typically going to be large code bases. JetBrains does have Junie AI Assistant. It does have Junie, and Junie's fine. It's just not what I typically use because I'm already paying for Augment over here. So if I can use it over here as well, there's no reason for me to pay for Junie. But I do have AI Assistant enabled because of the intelligent code completion right here, which Augment does not have. And then I just have a bunch of plugins over here. I don't know how many come pre-installed and how many I added, but there's a lot of stuff in IntelliJ. And then Zed, it's really just a alternative to VS Code for me. I do like Zed. I love the team at Zed. Those are awesome folks over there. And they did a really good job with their agentic editing. It actually works really well, their AI coding stuff. But like I said, old habits die hard, so I still find myself using VS Code more often than Zed. But that's mostly because I'm doing a lot of my development stuff on Windows because I default back to it, and Zed isn't available in Windows yet. Ooh, Windows in beta. I didn't realize it was officially in beta. Okay, join the beta. However, one thing about Zed, and this is also a reason why I do revert to VS Code, not just because of Windows, but because of the extensions. They don't have all of the extensions that I want, like the ES7 Plus in VS Code, where you can just like RFCE and boom, React component. Over here, I had actually done it where since AI is built in, I'll just do this RFCE and it would typically know what I wanted, or maybe I had to Control I or Control L, or do I not have this turned on? Oh yeah, boom, right there. So it created a React functional component. However, I did have a one time where I deleted a bunch of, code out of a file, actually similar to what I just did then. And when I had done RFCE, it wanted to put that code that I deleted back, which doesn't make any sense. It wasn't working properly, in other words, because it's not exactly how it's supposed to work. Yeah, so I use Zed and VS Code effectively interchangeably just based on what I'm doing, or they just have two similar types of projects open in them, but different projects at the same time. IntelliJ for Java. Maybe I'll try out, what is it called, a Rust Rover, because all JetBrains IDEs are very similar. And then Warp. I will use Warp. I've actually really been enjoying it just as an AI terminal like it originally was, whereas I do also use Alacrity with ZellaJ here, which is what came installed stock on Omakub, and I do really like this as well. Oh, and I do have NVim, LazyVim, but I don't use that much. So when I just know exactly what I want to do, boom, I'm in here doing whatever I want, just going through over here. Maybe I want to mess with the keyboard bindings or defaults, not bindings, but defaults, and just, I'll dip out, good to go. So I guess I do use NeoVim when I just want to edit a file, because I know enough of the commands and motions in order to do that. And it is a nicer experience, way nicer experience than Nano. But I do really like Warp because, I don't know if you can see up here, but if I could just Control I, it switches to just running commands, or here, agent. And just the other day, I was trying to swap this keyboard right here from the original Mac layout to now I put the Windows key and the Alt key on there. If you know Mac layout, the super key is right here, which is Command, and then there's like an Option key here. So I swapped that, and I know how to swap it on Ubuntu, but for whatever reason, it wasn't working. I tried multiple different ways, and none of them worked. I tried the command on the keyboard, and it didn't work. So what I did was something like this, and it was able to do it with basically little to no intervention. But I will also have a project open in here and have this code things, and you are able to see kind of the diff in here. You can see the diff, but it's inline diff, and I don't like inline diff. I like, do I have that open over here? I have a way different branch hooked up here, whatever. I like side-by-side diff. So I'll open up the same project in VS Code. So when I use Warp to code, I do have VS Code open or whatever else open for that reason and that reason alone. And of course, I would typically have that in the same workspace with, again, each workspace being its own project. And I'm sure there's a lot of other things that I missed, but I feel like a lot of them are just little things. Like I just do Windows over and that does half screen, or like I said before, I could do something like that. And there are a lot of things, differences, changes, other changes that I made to Omakub as well, just so it fits what I want, because I just wanted something that got me 90% of the way there, and then I could make the changes as I go for the remaining 10%. So that's my Linux Ubuntu setup for software development. It has changed a lot in the past however many years with all of these different tools I've been trying, as well as all of the AI coding and those coding tools that just kind of help your workflow overall. I need to mention this every time I mention AI and coding with AI. It does not replace understanding software engineering concepts and fundamentals, and a good software engineer is going to be able to use them 10 times, 100 times, way better than just, the vibe coder who doesn't know anything about coding, but is like, hey, I made a landing page. So now all software development jobs must be obsolete because look what I made. I'm not going into that this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know if there's anything that I should try or change about my setup or any recommendations. Like I said, I'm going through this big change right now and really going to consolidate everything into a single monitor and just something that's easier to deal with. But I'll check those out in the comments. Y'all have a good one.